Well, hello again. Here we are with one of those amusing little stories. We have this Fender Telecoustic that was rescued by a customer's son out of a dumpster at one of the local campuses on a move-out day. Apparently someone had tried to make this guitar playable and gave up and tossed it. The first thing I noticed when we brought it in, someone had tried to replace the nut on it, and they've cut the slot out really badly here where the original nut was and tried to put an aftermarket plastic nut in it. So I'm going to have to fill that in and reslot that for a proper Fender style nut. That should be the biggest thing I found on the guitar so far. When it came in, it had a huge bow in the neck. The truss rod was actually frozen, so I managed to get it loose. Took the nut out, cleaned everything up, lubed it, put it all back in. The neck works fine. I can actually back bow it, so the adjustment range is fine on it. We even have the bridge saddle in backwards. Someone had tried to shim the neck to get the strings lower, but they shimmed it backwards, so that explains why the strings are so high. You should have seen it before I straightened the neck. Of course, this nut is not helping the situation any. So we're going to take care of that. The electronics all work. Everything is functional in this guitar. So we're going to see if we can make a playable instrument out of this. So as they say, let's get on with it then. Okay, we've got almost a couple hours in here. At this point, we've got our slot filled for the nut, and it's been sawed in the proper place, got enough roughed out for it. But what I want to talk to you about right here is we found out something. Not only did he have the neck shimmed in the wrong place, see those spots? See those spots? We epoxied the neck on. I think actually what he intended to do was keep the neck from sliding around the body. So we've got to clean this mess up. We've got to sand this epoxy out of the neck pocket. Got to dig these shims out. Got to peel these shims off the neck that's been glued on. And clean up this before we can carry on. Okay, here we go. So here we are. We're all finished up. We've got about 3 hours in this guitar. Had a few surprises along the way. Of course, we had to reseat a few frets. Do a quick fret dress. We had to fill in the aforementioned nut slot and recut it properly and put a new bone nut in it. Had to loosen the truss rod nut, get the truss rod working properly. Tightened up his tuning keys. Had to lower the bridge saddle and clean it up. Of course, fitted a new set of bridge pins. Part of the culprit here with the one fret here that would pop up all the time would give me a problem. The original neck screws were actually too long for this position. The body tapers back here, and they were actually driving up and pushing this fret up out of the fingerboard. So once we figured out what was going on there and corrected all that by shortening the screws up a little bit and reseating the fret again and gluing it down, that took care of that problem. These guitars were marketed as a crossover guitar from an electric player that maybe plays a little bit of acoustic. They were not an expensive guitar. It had a laminated top, fiberglass back and sides, of course, molded. I had a little EQ pack here. All in all, it's not a very bad sounding guitar. We ended up using a set of 10 gauge electric strings on it with a wound third because of the compensated saddle back here. The acoustic strings actually sounded just a little bit too bright on the nickel strings here, kind of mellowed the guitar out quite a bit. So that was a plus. I took a little time after I was finished to actually clean up all the epoxy handprints from around the body. There's all these big yellow epoxy paw prints on it. Just couldn't leave on it, so that's my gift to him. So actually, surprisingly, this guitar sounds pretty good. So we're going to call the customer, let him pick it up for his son, and see if we can make his son happy with his dumpster find. So there you go. One man's trash is another man's telly. And this concludes the 2001 Fender Teleacoustic Dumpster Challenge. So until next time, play nice. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.